What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? Today, we're looking at the all-new Vantage M2 multi-sport watch from Polar. We're gonna go over, a few of the basic details about the watch, and then we're gonna look at some data, and then I'm gonna tell you, what I love about this watch and what I wish was slightly different about this watch. But keep in mind that, I've only had this watch for a very short amount of time, and also keep in mind that Polar did send me this watch for the purpose of this review. I did not purchase this watch with my own money, but Polar didn't send along a pile of cash or anything crazy like that with the watch. They're not sponsoring this video, and they don't get to see this video before you guys get to see it right here on YouTube. And of course, whenever a company sends me a product, I do always try to pass it along to you guys in the form of a giveaway. So stick around to the end of this video and we're gonna go over how you can actually win this watch. All right, let's take a look at what you get in the box itself. Of course, right off the bat, you've got, a packet full of instructions, or a getting started guide in the safety details of the watch. Me personally, I keep these babies like right next to my bed for some really riveting reading, late at night. Works every time for me. Now, in here, you've also got the watch itself, and you've also got an extra strap, which is really nice. And this is for larger size wrists. The strap that comes with the watch installed is designed for wrists that are, in that like 130 to 190 millimeter range. In this larger strap, it's aiming for 145 millimeters to 215 millimeter sized wrists. There's also a charging cable in here. It's just Polar's standard charging cable. And it does have a bit of that magnetism to it, which kind of helps you connect it to the watch itself. Now, the watch cost $300 and it is available today. The watch display is a 1.2 inch 240 by 240 color display. The screen brightness is on par with Polar's, high-end Vantage V2 watch that I have here. When I measured them, they measured pretty much the same. Although this watch doesn't have that ambient light sensor that the Vantage V does have, so it's not gonna auto adjust brightness based on, your surrounding lighting conditions. With the font size that they've chosen for this watch face, I did notice that it seems a little bit dimmer to me, but I did measure both of these watches with a light meter and they pretty much came up with the same value. Okay, this watch has a hard-coated acrylic laminate lens, so it's gonna be scratch resistant, but it's probably something that you are gonna wanna put, a lens cover on or something like that to keep it from getting scratches across the display. It also has a stainless steel bezel and stainless steel buttons, which I actually really like on this watch. And while, the watch is pretty similar to that Vantage M that you've had in the past, Polar's starting to do some pretty cool stuff. They're starting to do some like etched metal designs on the bezel of their watches, as well as kind of like some cool etchings on the buttons. Overall, I really like kind of these small touches that they're adding to the watch. And the watch itself is about 45 or maybe 46 millimeters in diameter. And it's about 14 millimeters in depth. And the depth is really kind of what makes the watch feel, smaller or bulky. And this one does feel pretty good on my, little dainty man wrists. And previous to this, I've been wearing the Enduro, which is just a tank of a watch. So definitely, this watch feels significantly smaller. I will say that the watch band attaches at the very bottom base of the watch. So I do notice that this watch feels a bit raised. When compared to the Vantage V2, the watch band itself just kind of comes in a little bit more centered and in the middle. But just for reference, here's what this watch looks like on my wrist, and here's what this watch looks like on my wife's wrists. The watch band is replaceable. It's a 22 millimeter quick release watch band. I like how Polar has these kind of quick and easy watch bands to remove. And the watch really only weighs 45 grams. So it is one of the lighter watches that I've tested on this channel. Now, as far as battery life goes, it'll go 30 hours in GPS mode. So, it would be able to cover, a full Ironman distance race if that's what you've got planned, or a lot of the ultra running races that are, out there. But that's still about 10 hours less than, I tested the Grit X or the Vantage V2, both of which, I tested either right at 40 or a touch longer in the case of the Vantage V2. And when you have this watch and you're just kind of using it in the normal smartwatch mode, you can expect to get about 5 days of usage, again, with the heart rate monitor on, which is about 2 days less or so than what I was getting from my Vantage V2. Now, I do think that Polar did update the GPS chipset on this watch because you do have a few more GPS satellite options than you used to. But I'm comparing this watch's GPS accuracy to the Garmin Forerunner 745. And that Garmin 745, it really has been consistently one of the top performing watches for me, as far as GPS accuracy goes. So it is difficult to kind of compare these two watches. And this watch does kind of stray off path a few times here. You can see going around this turn or this turn onto this street. But overall, very reasonable GPS accuracy on this watch. And of course, it has an optical heart rate monitor. This is the Precision Prime. I think it's the 1.0. It still uses 10 LEDs with a variety of different colors. But I think that there's one less color that it uses comparing it to the Precision Prime 2.0. But the extra colors just kind of help, with a wider range of skin tones. And Polar has always done a good job with heart rate monitors in the past. When we look at the data here, I'm comparing this optical heart rate monitor to a chest strap, which obviously is not a fair comparison. I have talked about heart rate monitors in depth on my channel recently. If you want to dig in and learn a little bit more about some of the differences between these two things, I'm going to leave a video up here in the corner somewhere, and you guys can check that out. But I always tell people that if you're really going to rely on heart rate monitors for a workout, you should probably be using a chest strap. Polar makes a couple of good options. The Polar H10 or the Polar H9 are great, but they also make an optical heart rate monitor that sits up higher on the arm, like the Verity Sense, which is going to give you more accurate results as well. But when I look at this data, it's not super ideal. It does seem to take a long time to lock on, and then it locks on for a little while, and then it spikes again before locking on again for a little while longer. And then one more spike right towards the end of the 5-mile run here. And while I haven't done a ton of testing with this watch, I can't say for sure that it's gonna be an absolutely fantastic triathlon watch. It does tick all of those boxes. You can do open water swimming with it. It should pair with a lot of the Bluetooth devices that you may have. But there's not a ton of triathlon watches, on the market that are really in that kind of sub $300 range. So this is a nice option in that regards. This updated watch also brings, music controls to your watch, which is different than, onboard music, meaning you still need your phone with you. But it's nice to be able to control the music from the watch face itself. I found it really useful, when I was just on the bike and I didn't want to have to dig out my phone. There's also a new weather widget, which is kind of nice. And there's also a new weekly summary widget, so you can kind of see what you've done with your week. Also on this watch, you're getting fuel-wise. So if you do some of those longer events, you can set reminders to, take in food or calories or drink at specific intervals, which is actually really handy for, those of us that do triathlon or do some of these longer events. You'd be surprised at how important it is to remember to do that stuff. There's also Fit Spark, which just means that you can actually do recommended workouts that are coming directly from the watch itself. For example, I tend to do a lot of cardio, a lot of swimming, biking, and running, and it will often tell me that I need to mix it up. Right now, it is suggesting that I do a strength workout, which is cool. You can kind of hop in there and do it right on the watch. And more watches are tracking sleep metrics. But in my humble opinion, I still think that Polar is doing the best work here. I love having detailed sleep metrics right on my watch. And, if you are into fitness tracking, I think that you should really be keeping a close eye on your sleep metrics as well. It seems like it seems like all of us are, you know, buying massage guns and foam rollers, spending money on like the perfect balance of whey protein after our workouts, but we're neglecting sleep, which I think is probably one of the most obvious performance enhancing recovery tools that, you know, we have in our arsenals. For me personally, I know it's something that I can work on. It's definitely something that I need to improve. Another thing that I like about this watch is it's not a touchscreen. And, you know, if you've watched this channel for a while, you know how I feel about touchscreens. I really do prefer real buttons. So the Vantage V2 has buttons, but I typically find touchscreens a bit annoying. Okay, I don't think that this is a huge update from the older previous model of the Polar Vantage M. You're still kind of stuck with Bluetooth only. The watch doesn't do ANT+, so you can't connect to those ANT+ specific devices. You still have that same situation where you're not gonna get smartphone notifications while you're in an activity. I've complained about that before, and Polar still thinks it's a feature and that they shouldn't provide a setting to give you that as an option. And then you're still gonna have issues, in my opinion, with some of the swimming metrics. There's no drill mode. You can't necessarily, you know, start a kick set and get the same distance like you would on other models where you would just switch it to drill mode, start that, and insert a specific distance. So for me personally, I'm not gonna get accurate swim distances with this watch. I haven't tested it on open water. That should work fine. You know, again, it's gonna use GPS for that to get distance. But in the lap swimming situation, that's a problem that I always have with Polar watches, really a lot of the watches on the market. Okay, to win this watch, all I'd like you to do is subscribe to the channel and then drop below in the comment section and tell me, you know, what challenges that you guys have planned in the near future. Maybe you're training for an Ironman event, or maybe, you know, you're doing your very first 5K. You know, either way, I would love to hear about it. We'll give this video a few weeks and then I'll pick a random comment and we'll just kind of connect either over Instagram private message or someplace like that, just so that I can get your address and then I'll ship this your way. And you know, I don't mind paying for shipping in North America, but if it does get any further than that, we can chat over private message and we can kind of figure out a plan. But I did want to leave a little bit more details on the giveaway, but you guys can check out those details in the description of this video. Okay, so overall, I think that this is a very nice update to a very popular watch from Polar. And it's, you know, always great to see that triathletes are gonna have another option at a reasonable price point. But, you know, overall, I would say that it feels like a very modest update, nothing, you know, earth-shattering here. To me, it seems like Polar has really just, you know, added the latest software enhancements, kind of the latest software updates to this very minor update of the watch body itself. Still, very nice watch. And I am looking forward to one of you guys winning this watch. But hopefully that gives you guys some idea of what you can expect from the new Vantage M2 from Polar. And as always, you know, be sure to get out there, swim, bike, run, rinse, and then repeat it all over again. And we will see you guys in the next one.